Shalom. Good morning. Sister Kate here in the book corner of the house. First thing I want to do is thank people who ordered t-shirts. We ordered enough that Bonfire went ahead to print because enough weren't ordered that it just wouldn't have happened. And they should be getting mailed out to you. So I would love to see pictures or feedback. I put my email in the description of one of the videos on the t-shirts, and I would love to get feedback or photos from you on your shirts because crew members will have them. Second thing is, our son called us last night just full of the Holy Spirit. He's had a lot of downloads from the Lord. And he basically said that things are getting shorter. Time is getting shorter. Things are speeding up. And he's a believer, been a believer for a while. So I take what he says on board. And he also was very encouraging for Pastor and I, which we need sometimes. And so that, I'm sharing that with you all. So if you're Spirit is telling you it's time to get out, it's time to be separate, there's confirmation there, as well as with other brothers who are saying the same thing. Third thing is, have you been paying attention to the news? If you haven't, you might want to just do a little, searching yourself and find out that there was an ice storm in part of Oklahoma, knocked out power in Texas and Oklahoma, reached all the way up into Kansas. There is a surge warning right now for Hurricane Zeta. So that means they've gone through whatever alphabet, and they're at the end, they're going to have to start over. Next hurricane will be, an A letter, all along the northern Gulf Coast there. On the eastern side, 1 to 3 feet. On the western side, as much as 5 to 7 feet. And this country is, in the midst of these natural disasters, as well as an election coming up. And, as you know, the pandemic. 73,000 people coming down with COVID daily. And in places like Wisconsin, which you wouldn't think there'd be a whole lot of, community spread up there. It's a big state and people are very outdoorsy, but people are not taking the precautions they should be taking in the name of, their independence and whatever. And so this is a virus. The virus doesn't care. The virus doesn't care how you feel or if you feel repressed or if you think it's a government, whatever. The virus doesn't care. It's going to spread. And people keep bringing up the point of the flu, and there's not a lot of flu this season and everything. It might be because of the separation and people washing their hands who do, because the flu and everything gets spread the same way. You're coughing and sneezing and sharing things with people. And if you're not doing those things, then the flu doesn't have the same opportunity. Now, I watched a NBC News snippet last night about this surge, and one of the doctors, and I think he was in New Mexico, said that people in his area are dying because they're not getting the medical care they need, because all the medical people down in his area are dealing with the surging coronavirus. And that's an indicator, I told you. If the pandemic is truly real, it would reach... Well, I'm going to try this again. My phone shut down right in the middle of what I was trying to say. It shut down... It shut down twice, and it cut out a whole section. So I gotta... It's not. It usually says if there's a memory problem. Anyway, what I was saying is, in New Mexico, the doctor said that people were dying of normal things because everyone's responding to COVID. And that is an indicator of how the pandemic is going. Stuff starts to kind of cascade. Things happen on top. So many cases, then the medical people get overwhelmed, then people who need regular stuff don't get treated, and the medical people burn out, and they've got to be, reach down into other places, like when Trump sent the hospital ships to New York at the beginning of the, the pandemic. He sent them because he was trying to bring relief to New York City, because New York City was having the worst of the spiking then, and building field hospitals and so on. So that's one of the signs of a pandemic. It's not getting better. Now, I know Trump said we're turning the corner, rounding the corner, but I think he means on a vaccine. I don't think he means we're rounding a corner on cases, because obviously we're not. We're spiking in cases. So I think he meant, and as far as vaccines and treatments, because look how sick he was. He was only in the hospital like 4 days, and he had some sort of very specialized treatment. And Remdesivir just got okayed by the EPA. I think that's what he means. So, the fourth thing I wanted to talk to y'all about was dark winter. I got an Instagram after watching the presidential elections, a message, and the person said, look up dark winter. And that, to you, what does that mean? That means nothing, right? Winter's always dark. It's always, sun's in a different location and it's cold. No. So I went and I looked. I Googled it. And dark winter was a bioweapon exercise that the federal government did in 2001. And why was that important? Well, because Biden let it slip out during the last debate. And how do I know that? It's not because I read it in CNN or the Washington Post, because they didn't report that. Nobody reported that. But I heard it because my husband listens and watches stuff like that, so he can analyze it. And I noticed it too. I thought that's kind of a weird phrase right there. And what first came to mind is when Game of Thrones was, everyone in the world was watching it, and they kept saying, winter is coming. Winter is coming. Well, yeah, okay. Fall is here. Winter is coming. That's not news. When fall's here, winter has to be on its tail. But dark winter? So then I started thinking about that. Why would Biden let that slip? What does he know? Because I do think it was a Freudian slip on his part. What does he know about that exercise, and why would he be thinking about that during the debate? And if it is something else, if it's not the pandemic, because the pandemic's now almost a year old. We're coming up on January in, 3 or 4 months? So it's not like it's something new. How would that relate? What does he know? Right? And with Hunter Biden's laptop being found and turned over to the FBI, and Twitter and Facebook not even allowing news posts about it to be tweeted, which is, First Amendment rights, man. Somebody's got to be able to let that information out. That they also have ties with China. Is that saying that they knew that the pandemic was coming? And does that make... that whole thing just seems very strange to me, because at the beginning of the pandemic, he and Pelosi had just tried to impeach the president. And then they were saying that the president stopping traffic from China was xenophobic. And they were trying to get some legislation to outlaw that when the virus just got really bad and they backed off. And the press only reported on it once or twice, but I read that. So if it's not the past pandemic that he's talking about, what is he talking about? And that's kind of interesting and kind of scary. So, isn't that strange? 2 times my video has just stopped. Because everyone looks at the Trump administration as being guilty of, perpetrating some sort of biological thing, and the whole time the evidence, and Trump is saying, no, it's the Chinese, they released this. But did Biden know something about it? Was it something a little bit more, hidden? Because now that the laptop is out, it looks like Biden has had connections to China. And so did China let him know and he didn't let anybody else know? He and Pelosi were saying that Trump not letting flights come into the States from China anymore was xenophobic. They did that right after they tried to impeach Trump. Because I remember when people were saying, oh, Trump didn't do this thing early enough. Well, he was in an impeachment hearing right before this happened. And who's fueling that? Nancy Pelosi and Biden and Schumer and all those guys. So, I don't know, y'all. I think it's something to look at, and I'd love to hear what you all think about it as well. It's a dark winter coming. I'll tell you right now, it's been a cold, rainy one so far. And that means for us, batten down the hatches. Crew, be ready to quarantine yourself. Be ready to be self-sufficient for a while, because it looks like 2020 is not relenting. We're still going to have a wild ride all the way to the end of it, and possibly into 2021. All right, y'all. Take care of y'all selves. Bless you. Shalom.